My name is Angie Ostaszewski. Usually people call me Angie O. I'm the Director of Strategy and Innovation for SEEL. So first I'm going to tell you what the heck SEEL is. I am very proud to work for Solutions for Energy Efficient Logistics. We're a Black and disabled veteran-owned company based out of Detroit. We're 66% diverse, and my work experience basically totally transformed coming to a company like this from a Fortune 500 conservative utility that did not allow women to wear pants until 2 years before I started there. Next slide. This is our leadership team. I just like to show them because we have a diverse leadership team and you don't always see that. So there are their faces and we keep moving. We offer a ton of services. If you're looking for a workforce development partner, someone to do equity programming, we have a free grant writing program that will help any nonprofit pursue clean energy funding. Like literally it's free. We will write the grant for you. We'll budget, we'll do energy modeling, we'll submit it for you. Like so many people have lost funding, there needs to be an easier path towards another solution. So we found a way to fill the market, and I'm really, really thankful my company let me create a free program. Next slide. Okay, so who the heck am I? So this left column, that's stuff I usually tell people at work. This is who I am as a professional. The stuff on the right is what I don't always share, or I have shared and unfortunately learned in many ways that there is an implicit corporate culture that I was not a native speaker of. It's very white. And I grew up in an immigrant household. I didn't have any references for corporate culture. So I just really want to share. I'm so lucky. I'm a director today, but I got there because I now have like a black belt in corporate trauma. Like I've seen it. I've seen most of it, unfortunately, but also fortunately, because now I get to help make the path easier for others by talking about the, super fucked up experiences I had. Pardon language. Next slide. So this session is based on, have y'all seen that trend on TikTok? Like, don't give me the advice you can Google, give me the unhinged advice that no one actually talks about. That's what I'm hoping to do in this session. I really want to be able to answer specific questions y'all have, because there's always those niche questions that you're like, who can I ask about, do I eat lunch at my desk? And are people going to judge me if I warm up fish, even though they don't say anything? And could that actually affect the trajectory of my career? Yes, it can, which is messed up. But like, we can talk about anything like that today. Next slide. So I've broken out tips into when you're interviewing or applying for jobs, and then when you're in the hiring phase, because there's a lot of negotiation there that's going to affect your job long term. So let's start with the first one. If we go to the next, my lady, probably all of you, if you're on LinkedIn, you're like, okay, how do I network on this site where like there's no organic way to start a conversation? A lot of people will reach out and be like, hey, are you hiring? I'd love to interview. Here's my resume. Thanks. That's okay, but that's a transaction. That's going to get you one conversation and one opportunity. And it also almost always comes across like used car salesmen. I'm not saying these will never work, just saying I found they are not as effective as other things. So instead, ask for something that is open-ended. Ask for advice. Ask to job shadow. You can virtually job shadow someone in like 2 meetings. You can virtually job shadow them by meeting with them for an hour and asking about everything they do. You could ask if they are willing to mentor you even just once in a 30-minute call. Think relationship, not transaction. But also, I literally recently had a staff person do this where he reached out to someone in my network and said, hey, I want to grow my skills in energy marketing. Can you give me some advice? But without any context, the person was like, who is this? So you have to find some way to show them that you understand them, you've taken the time to learn about them, because everyone likes to feel flattered, but they also want to see that you're not just like casting a net and asking everyone for advice. So if you were to message me and be like, hey, I see on your profile that you did workforce development in your career, I've been really interested in seeing how I can get into the side of helping to train people to find their job in energy. That's going to give me some hints of what you want. It's going to get me potentially excited if I'm passionate about this topic. It's the difference between someone receiving it positively versus being like, what the heck is this? Next one, bring the big deck energy. So As someone who is a woman and a person of color and usually younger than people in a corporate environment and also queer, and also I have ADHD and autism, I have a lot of things I want to share in an interview in terms of what I've accomplished, why I'm a good fit for this job. Like, I've thought about all of this. But unfortunately, having all those identities, it can come across like I'm a know-it-all, or, you know, that I'm just focused on myself, even though you're supposed to talk about yourself in an interview. So then you're like, I don't know how to win this. The only way I've been able to figure this out is to make a deck about myself. And if we go to the next slide, I'll show you a bunch of screenshots of what mine looks like. How I use this is if I get the interview, and it's usually virtual, I join the interview and there's always that first question of, well, tell me about your background. And usually that's like, let me run through my resume. But what I do is I bring up this deck and I'm going to just casually scroll through it while I tell you about myself. So I'm going to talk about the last couple of years, but at the same time, I'm going to pull up this picture of me out in the field doing lots of things I love. You're going to see my education, that I graduated #1 in my class for my MBA program. You're going to see all my recent speaking opportunities, as well as impact metrics for what I've done, links to sample videos I've created. And even though I'm not going to be directly addressing or talking about any of those, it's that passive visual that is going to tell them there's so much more to this person. And it makes you look super duper extra prepared. And then you can offer to send it afterwards in a PDF. And oh my God, every time I've done that, they're like, oh, this is so impressive. But also I come across not like, too into myself, which is, again, you're marketing yourself in an interview, but it helps to soften sometimes that perspective of like, girl, shut up, even though I'm asking questions about yourself. Next slide. Okay. This is a question from the first time I came and spoke at DC Climate Week that Christy referenced in her intro for me, which is not always a popular opinion, but someone asked the question, if I'm like 90% qualified for a job, but not 100%, what should I do? And I said, you should lie. It immediately polarized the entire audience. Half of the people were like, and half the people were like, But what I mean to say is, all of y'all have experience in your lives that companies and corporations don't count as work experience. I help both my sisters with their household budgets. I help take care of my nephew and my grandma and coordinating appointments and their medicine. They may not count that as experience, but how could I do that if I wasn't organized, if I didn't plan well? I know those things make me better at my job because they make me better in my life. Statistically, a white man, he gonna apply if he's not experienced per what the position describes. Everyone else who hesitates are the people that write themselves out. So I'm always like, just apply. If you have 90%, 80% of the experience, and if the gap, you can learn it, apply, because you're going to have to learn most of what you do on the job anyway. I detest the virtue that honesty matters above all else. If it's the difference between you having enough money to eat, then lie. I mean, if you are worried about lying, then you probably are going to only fudge a little. It's the people that don't hesitate that are already lying. You know what I'm saying? So don't allow a small reason to hold you back when you know you'll be able to rise to the occasion. And I lean into that because all of us are told our entire lives, always be honest, always be humble, have 100% integrity. That only gives success for certain groups, okay? Everyone's inferring in their minds. They know what they're imagining. You have to use all the tools in your toolbox. And when I came over, I was working at a nonprofit, was making $28,000 a year. I was applying for SNAP and then helping people apply for SNAP. And I was like, I cannot become trapped in this cycle of living in poverty so I can help other people in poverty. Like, I deserve also to be lifted out of poverty. And I saw an internship at the utility. I was like, $23 an hour. Yes, I'm going to lose my health insurance, but yes. I applied, and after I'd been there for about a year, an opening came about in the energy efficiency team. They had just passed legislation for the first utility-led equity programming in the country to be under an energy efficiency portfolio. And of course, I was asking to job shadow every meeting I could go to because I wanted to know what was going on. And I was in a meeting one day, and it was literally all execs. Everyone was a director level or above. And someone said, well, how do you think we can reach poor people so that they will take advantage of these programs? And I was looking around and I was like, I am the current representative of poor people in this meeting. And I thought I had nothing to add And I even spoke up and I was like, well, there's this local nonprofit that they do like home buying classes. And if you take the class, they'll give you help on your down payment. So, I think it would be good to learn energy management skills in that. And everyone was like, whatever. Okay, but then 6 months later, I was leading that program, even though I'd never put together a budget before. I was managing $3.2 million. I created the contracts. I wrote the implementation plans. I created all the invoice templates. I executed 40 contracts with different nonprofits for us to give them funding for overhead so that they could infuse energy efficiency into their existing programming. And it became a model for the state. And I didn't have any of the professional skills to do that. But I did know people and I did know my community. And as someone who grew up neurodivergent, I also knew how to navigate relationships for my safety, which I realize in the corporate world means effective because people feel delighted when they meet with me. It's not good, delighted, because I need to be safe. So I'm going to create the optimal experience for them. So we have a live LinkedIn makeover table today. In 5 minutes, I encourage you to stop by. I do these real quick. I've done a bunch of webinars where basically I pull up someone's profile and we just workshop it real quick to just fine tune it. But I'm going to tell you some of the things I always look for when I'm reading people's resumes. Also, I've been doing workforce development for 10 years. I forgot to say more about myself, but I'll figure out a way to work it in. So I'll see a lot of people be like, okay, I was an outreach coordinator, conducted outreach to high needs communities, did presentations, coordinated schedules for other presenters. Okay, that's what you did. That's a good start. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you don't know the person at all, I can't picture the volume of the work, the quality of the work. It's putting in some of those measurable pieces. So how did you do it? How did you set up all those presentations? So by developing relationships with a network of social service agencies and where I participated in their advisory committees. Oh, okay. That's impressive. But then how many presentations did you do? If over 3 years you did 242 presentations, put that in there because again, that gives scale to your skill, your ability to deliver. It's because it's innate to us. We always forget to put those things. And it's always helpful to ask at least two people to review your stuff. If you go to the one person for advice always, you're getting a very biased opinion and you're not doing yourself a favor, so always two. And then ask them, if you didn't know me, and better yet, someone who doesn't know your work at all, would I impress you with this? And so ask yourself, how do I put in numbers? How do I show the impact? Did I say how I accomplished it? Because at the end of the day, when I'm hiring, I really don't care what experience you have. But if you can demonstrate to me you're able to think, you're able to problem solve, and you're able to make decisions based on values we share, such as integrity, transparency, like I can hire that person and I can train them because they have the aptitude for anything. So you've interviewed, you gave this amazing resume that has all of these numbers in it, and they just are like, wow, she's done so much. And now you also have shown them your PowerPoint of all of your accomplishments, and they now have a log of it in a PDF file that you've circulated, and they save it to your file with HR. And the CEO is like, wow, she put together a deck. That's nice. And they give you an offer. Oh my God, that's really, really exciting. But I've met so many people who didn't realize all the things you can negotiate, all the things. And I had to have someone sit me down and tell me to negotiate and push back because the scarcity mindset is so real. I would always feel if I got a job offer, I just have to accept it because if I push back at all, they're going to realize I'm not worth it and they're going to walk away and then I'll be unemployed. So I should just say yes. Don't do that. They need you too. They make you feel often like they don't need you, but that they need you. Like they took the time to give you an offer. You're the first pick. Now is the time to advocate for yourself. One of the things that will happen is if you accept the first offer at a job, you get locked into that level for a long, long time. You're going to be looking at 3% raises every single year, and it's going to take you forever to get to maybe that $10,000 higher number that you had initially proposed. So always counter. Even if you're okay with the salary, counter. And we can talk about what's a reasonable counter and what's unreasonable, but always counter. Always. They are auditioning too. One of the things that people don't talk about, if you think about workforce development, Everyone talks about what the job seeker can do. Oh, the job seeker should get training. The job seeker should do mock interviews. No one talks about what employers can do, even though retention and rehiring, it's so expensive if you mess that up. They never talk about what companies need to do. But isn't this always sort of what happens in so many issues in the US is they talk about what the individual should do better when ultimately it's these organizations that are responsible for most of the work to fix things. It's no different in workforce development. Employers need to be trained how to treat you. So when you accept exactly what they offer you, it sets a precedent, whether they know it, whether you know it. So you have to show that you will push back. And if they still want you after you push back, that's an employer you want to work for. If you have to just say yes to everything, that's probably not a place where you're going to thrive long term because they're telling you, I don't care about what you want. You're lucky to get what I offer you. A company that says you're lucky to get anything I offer you is not a company that you're going to love working at. I'm going to guarantee that, even though I don't like to make definitive statements, but I'm going to guarantee that. There's also plenty of things that you can ask for to make you confident in your decision. So the position I was in before this one, it was an offer to leave the utility after I'd been there 8 years. Girl, I had a pension. So I was like, I don't know. I don't think pensions are going to exist anymore. Like, they're endangered. Should I do this? Should I not do this? And so I was really on the fence. And I was very lucky at the time. The person that offered me the job, she said, what do you need to feel comfortable? And I knew I would be reporting to her. She had worked at Google before. She actually spoke yesterday, Jess Bergman. So I knew her. I knew we'd work well together. But I was like, can I meet with a team? So I attended a team meeting with everyone in the department. I didn't say anything. I just wanted to observe the dynamic. How do people talk? Are people respectful of one another? And that honestly was so reassuring because I could picture what it'll be like. It's the worst thing where you apply for a job that sounds like a dream job and you get there and the personnel make it a job you hate. Because that saying is so true. People leave bad bosses, not bad jobs. Like if it's not a good environment for your mental health, it's also going to deplete you and make it harder to apply for other jobs. Like it's just a hole that is so hard to dig yourself out of. Again, I can speak to that from my nervous breakdown in August 2022. I'm fine now. But it's rough out there. So you can ask for transparency into any of those things. Okay, everything is up for negotiation. Everything. I can't tell you the number of people who think you can only negotiate salary. You can negotiate anything. The worst thing they're going to say is no. The pay isn't what you want it to be. I would usually say you can go up to 15%, but if you're very qualified, up to 25% above what they offered, especially if they approached you. I'm very lucky that since 2016, after I applied for that internship, every other position I've had has been offered to me. So it put me in a very advantageous negotiating position. But if you are competitively applying, I wouldn't suggest it, asking for a 25% increase in the salary. But, you know, if that's what you need to say yes, then ask for it because you're going to walk away otherwise. So you should be honest instead of just saying no. And that is also valuable for other people looking for work because they need to hear that feedback from job seekers that they're underpaying. Because so many times companies are going to say, it's competitive to the market. We did a market analysis. But if you offered the last 5 positions you offered, people said no because the pay was too little. You don't know that unless the person tells you. So that's important data for other people in addition to yourself. Benefits. Yes, you can negotiate benefits. You want a lower copay each month. You want, them to match something in your flex spending health savings account. Again, all they can say is no. But if you have, for example, like immunocompromised children, that is definitely something you can negotiate for yourself or your family. Vacation time. Yes, negotiate that. I didn't leave the utility until someone offered me 2 months PTO. I didn't take all of it, but I had the option and I'm going to work towards taking all of it. Like, you can have that work-life balance at a point in your career when you show that value, or if you have a company that already has those policies, but that's, again, something you can negotiate. Your equipment. Okay, do you have chronic back pain? Yes, you can negotiate them buying you a very nice desk chair or a standing desk. You can negotiate them getting you a laptop if your laptop is really old and crashes all the time, like mine. And I got on this laptop with my current job. All of these things can be tied to your success. And so you can ask for that. Funding for learning and development. This means, A lot of places offer tuition reimbursement, but let's say you want to become very specialized in corporate social responsibility. There are certifications out there that you can say, when you hire me, will you pay for me to get this? Because I'll be better at my job with it. That you can make your offer include that, remote or in office. And this is one that a lot of people don't think of, but I asked for this at a job participation and executive level discussions. Okay, I would like to learn more about being a leader. So yes, I want to be in the directors' meetings. I just want to see what it's like. And everyone else in the meetings was at a higher level than me. But after like a few meetings, I just ended up participating. So I was like, yes, like I got in, I'm learning about it, and I'm also participating in these discussions that shape the company culture. So I linger on this one for a long time because it's very important. Oh yes, and support for board positions or volunteering, which means like guaranteed time off when you have those meetings. That's important to get in writing too, because a lot of people will say they support it and then they don't because it's not in writing. Always get receipts. This one is crucial. Don't put your best foot forward. You're like, why? Just put your regular foot forward. I made this mistake in multiple jobs until I realized I was setting myself up to fail because I would start and I'd be like, I'm going to work the longest. I'm going to get everything done early. I'm going to impress them and they're going to let. They already offered you the job. You don't have to prove anything. You really don't. And what that ends up setting up is that you'll always be operating at that level. And when you div to what is considered normal productivity, it's going to look like you're slacking, even though your output is probably still above and beyond or equal to everyone else's. Many people, like me, look at this and they're like, oh, my job will be at risk. No, it won't. It won't, because if you're that worried, you're going to do a good job. I swear you're going to think about it. Think about what is typical output, even a week where you're stressed. Try to match that so that when you really do go above and beyond and you're really focused on a project, you can get the accolades you deserve instead of setting this precedent where they begin to feel entitled to that performance and take it for granted. Document. Always document. Are you guys familiar with why we do documentation at work? Anyone? Okay, cool. Let's talk about it. So I didn't go to HR in my career for the first time until I was 9 years into it. I would have saved myself so much headache if I knew to document and why to do it. So if you can screenshot a bunch of memes and put them in a folder on your phone, then you can document. If you're in a workplace, especially as a woman or person of color, and you start to see, I have a big personality. I've been told people either really love it or they're like, why is she like that? And so the why is she like that people, they might begin to have a negative interaction with you. And if you see a pattern, don't record every negative thing that happens. But if someone does something to you 3 times and you're concerned it will continue to happen, you need to start documenting, screenshotting their emails. If you have meetings, try to at least have a transcription, because there is a human resources department, but ultimately those exist to protect the company and company liability. They also say they support the worker, but in places where does it benefit the company or the worker, they're going to choose the company. This is the environment and how it's designed. The only thing they listen to is documentation because you can use that to sue them. I don't encourage people to sue whatever, but I do encourage you to have receipts, because I think many people have experienced the pain of what happened, but no one believes you, or everyone thinks you're exaggerating the severity. If I knew it was okay to go to HR, if someone had given me permission, I think my life would be very different. But I needed someone to give me permission. Every leader I had said, don't, it's going to affect your opportunities. Don't do that. You don't want to make any waves. But it was at the expense of my health. Like, I was so stressed all the time. So even if you never turn it into anyone, document. Emails where people are being condescending, emails where people are, you know those emails you get. Have you ever gotten an all caps email from someone? Yeah, those are stressful. They used to stress me out a lot, actually. They don't stress me out now because then I'm just like, put it in my little screenshot folder. And I'm like, if that happens again, I don't have to look for that. One thing that I see all the time in workplaces is everyone is accustomed to giving constructive criticism or negative feedback. Like, that's normalized. Being negative is usually more comfortable for people. Being positive often comes from a place of vulnerability. And so unless you operationalize it or normalize it in some way, it's not that common. Or especially, I'm going to talk about, I don't want to stereotype generations, but I've often found like the boomer generation, older millennial generation, it can be a learned skill because they're passing down the way that their workplace is operated. So how do we normalize feedback where it doesn't feel like, oh my God, I'm not giving my supervisor again to tell me how I did. I feel like I'm annoying them. Am I asking too much? Maybe I'm not asking enough. Should I ask them how often I should ask? No, that might be annoying. Like, anxiety loop. It happens. So how can you operationalize it so that it's just a part of your interactions with people? One of my favorites is stop, start, continue. Has anyone ever used that? Okay, great. I try to do it at least once a month with each of my staff where we do it for each other. And it's one thing you should stop doing, one thing you should start doing, and one thing you should continue doing. So then you recognize things that maybe should be dialed back, things that, actually, that was great. Please do a little bit more or begin doing this. Or also hearing, this was amazing. Continue doing that. It gives you a well-rounded understanding because I need to know what I'm doing well and what I'm not doing well to know what I need to do. And if it's only the negative, then I'm always going to feel hesitant that the positive I'm doing will be received negatively. So with something positive and something constructive. I have forced that on a lot of people I report to, and it was very uncomfortable for them. But also, in a hierarchy, they never asked me for feedback, and there are plenty of times that they needed it. So it also creates an in to talk to them about those difficult things. It's, again, like depersonalizing it instead of being like, I'm sorry, something happened. Can we talk about it? It's like, okay, it's our stop, start, continue week, and I'm going to tell you something, and you're expecting me to tell you something, and now I'm going to tell you, and it's not going to be as stressful. And trust me, once you do it 4 times, it's not going to feel weird anymore. Next one. Okay. That's coming towards the end of my presentation. Up on the screen is a QR code to my Blink business card. I'm going to tell you really quick about the other things I do in case it makes sense for us to connect. Please connect with me on LinkedIn regardless. And I'm going to say to you, if you have career questions, reach out to me. Now I'm going to say, I actually mean that. So if you hear that and then worry about messaging me, don't worry about messaging me because I want you to. The work that I did for 8 years at the utility included workforce development, supplier diversity. I launched the innovation portfolio, and I also managed all of the community-based relationships. I did it because I love it and also because I didn't know I didn't have to work 60 hours a week to keep my job, which is, again, why I'm telling you guys all this information. But if you're interested in any of those areas, if you want to have a 30-minute mentoring call, there's also a scheduling link in my Blink business card that you can use to select a time. It'll pop up on my calendar, and then we'll meet. So you can practice some of the things that I suggested today, or if you're like, none of this advice applies to me, we can talk about whatever will apply to you. But I hope some of these tips were helpful. And again, if any of you have like specific questions to your situation that you're like, I don't even know who I would ask about this, or basic ones, I would love to answer them. Otherwise, thank you for being here. Yes.
Thanks for your presentation. This is super great. So at the end of last year, I was fired 2 days after Christmas, and I will say I wish I had receipts. I got a little too comfortable in my last role, so I'm saying this to those that maybe don't always think about it at the end of the day, and got a glowing review 10 days before. So I spoke up, got, strong sense of justice, and they were like, there's the door. All the while, the one thing I want to mention about this is they kept a Excel spreadsheet of all my billable hours working with clients. And I never seen it before until the day I got fired. It was some shady ass shit. And then, so my question is, with my new job that I just got hired for last week, this is a basic needs kind of job to get me out of unemployment. But I realized as you were talking about this, I didn't have the time or the chance to negotiate things yet. And I start a few days after I come back from here. And I mean, what would you recommend kind of negotiating, even though I did sign the basic offer letter? Because you can always say no at any time of the process, but I'm just trying to figure out how to better set up myself for success, even though I kind of may feel like I'm coming back to after signing the offer letter of negotiating specifics.
Totally. And I'm sorry you were laid off. And I think a lot of those things happen because we have such a culture of avoidance in the US, let alone in the corporate environment. I mean, to show cheaters is literally catch people who won't talk to their significant others. Like, we have pop culture around it. And what happens at workplaces is instead of giving you feedback on something little and then building the resilience to get feedback, they just avoid it for as long as possible and then they sack you because they don't actually want to address it. That's about their discomfort, and I hate seeing people lose their jobs because of someone else's discomfort. That's dumb. It's just dumb and it's cruel. I love that there's stuff that applied for you, but if I had a job where I'm about to start, I've already done the negotiation. I realize in hindsight that maybe I didn't push back in some areas where I think I could have gotten a higher salary. The way I would approach it is to say, hey, I'm super duper excited to start this job. I would love to set some 90-day goals. I think I'm really going to impress you. I really want to show you how much I want to be here. After 90 days, can we review those goals so I can get your feedback on my performance? And you're not going to say at that time that you want a raise. Don't tell them. Don't tell them anything that they don't need to know because you don't know them that much yet. So ask for the review. If then your review is amazing, which it should be if someone is actually going to give you the goals and help train you, that is the time to say, I've realized I really love this job. I can see myself progressing here. I think I could perform at a higher level. And based on your review of my first 90 days, it seems like it was really positive. Would you consider a raise, or can we set a review period after which you will decide whether to give me a raise? And then you, one, are collecting the data where they first agree that you're exemplary. And then afterwards, you're like, okay, now what you gonna do with it? And then you see. And again, their response, if they're really negative, you're like, I probably should start looking, not because they're going to fire you, but because I don't think I'm going to progress here, right? So it's creating those opportunities to document your success and force them to acknowledge it, and then to sort of bend that into a conversation about increasing your wages.
Thank you so much, Angie. It was amazing. I learned so much.
Yay! Thank you.